Today, progressives in the House of Representatives released their policy agenda for 2025 with the hopes of re-energizing the Democratic base that might have lost some of their zeal during the Biden administration. Okay, so part of this is to get people excited about the election, to get them to root for Biden. But I also think what they put out as their agenda is telling. So let's get to the details. So the Congressional Progressive Caucus published its progressive proposition agenda. And so it includes a vision for Congress to meet everyday Americans' urgent needs and rebuild the American dream for the poor, working, and middle class. Now, it seems as though congressional progressives are taking a bit of a hint in that their proposal here is very hyper-focused on economic issues. There isn't much in the way of culture war issues, right? So a recent Pew Research poll found that strengthening the economy is in fact a top policy priority for 73% of Americans. So just based on polling alone, it makes sense for them to focus on economic issues. And so, reducing healthcare costs and making Social Security financially sound were also listed as some of the top priorities for Americans. And because of polling like that, the agenda focuses, again, mostly on economic issues. So let's see how it's broken down. The policies are organized into 7 areas of focus. Lowering the cost of living, boosting wages and worker power, advancing justice, protecting our planet and people, making our democracy work, breaking corporations' hold on our economy, providing world-class public education. So, those are bullet points. They're obviously very vague, right? Like what does it mean to provide world-class public education? Like what does that look like? What does advancing justice look like? And also justice for whom? The people who get randomly sucker punched by repeat violent offenders that keep getting let out over and over again? Is that what? But look, they don't get into all of that. Most of this is economic. It begins with provisions to boost the federal minimum wage to $17 an hour by 2028 and pass the PRO Act to strengthen unions, as well as other provisions such as guaranteeing overtime pay. It also includes policies to reduce the cost of living by capping childcare costs at 7% of income for all families, expanding Social Security benefits by closing tax loopholes, adding dental, vision, and hearing benefits to Medicare, and enacting a series of policies to protect renters and make housing more affordable. Yeah, we need to build more housing. We need to build a lot more housing. So I would focus on that.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you.
Look, I'm curious what you think, because I think overall good that they're at least trying something. And they're proposing things that a lot of Americans agree with. Also, the fact that they're focusing on economic ideas as opposed to going further into social justice issues, which is basically culture wars, right? I think is a good thing. Good, yes, we're enormously popular. Progressives are super popular on economic issues. Out of all the different political factions in the country, progressives are the most popular on economic issues, okay? So focusing on your strength is good. Now, having said that, is it partly a trick? Yes, okay, so.
Trick is too hard, that's too harsh of a word.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use trick. This is a way of messaging what progressives stand for.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's marketing, and you could take it in either direction, and maybe it's unfair to call it trick. And like I said, I'm glad they're doing it, right? But it's my job to explain the marketing side of it. Okay, so as an objective analyst here, so number one is they're saying 98% of the Progressive Caucus voted for it, so they don't really mean, like tons of the Progressive Caucus are actual progressives, and tons of the Progressive Caucus are just conservatives pretending to be in the Progressive Caucus for political reasons. So if 98% of them agree to it, that means they don't think any of this is really gonna pass, okay? So I'm just being honest with you guys. And then number two is they put things like the PRO Act in. Who are we kidding? I mean, I'm so tired of the Democrats pretending that they're gonna pass pro-union laws my entire life. They've said it in every election cycle, and they've never even come like within 100 miles of passing it, and they've never put their back into it. They've never even really tried. So like, please spare me.
But what's interesting is they have this. They listed the PRO Act, which is maybe the loftiest goal in this entire list of priorities. But then when it came to the minimum wage, it's like, we would like to increase the minimum wage to $17 an hour by 2028. Yeah. Which I think is maybe I'm too black-pilled in certain ways, right? But none of this is I don't think any of this is gonna happen.
Yeah, and so that gets to the conclusion on the marketing, which is this is, and accurately so, and smart politics on Pramila Jayapal's part, and I don't often say that, going, hey, I don't think Biden's gonna be able to get this thing over the finish line here because he's not proposing anything that's popular. In fact, he hasn't proposed anything for a second term other than, don't worry, I will make sure that Israel is funded beyond imagination for no matter what they do. Other than that, I haven't heard any economic proposals from Biden. I haven't heard any proposals from Biden. Why is he running for a second term? Because second term presidents are considered to have better legacies. It's all about his ego. So here's Pramila Jayapal in the Progressive Caucus helping Biden by going, yes, now remember everybody, Democrats are for higher wages and for labor unions and for extra health care, all the things that you guys actually want. So remember, vote for us, we're better than them. And look, under Biden and Progressive Caucus, et cetera, they passed some things. And some things are better than going backwards under Republicans. And that's what they're reminding people, and that's fair. And so I think well played overall. What do you think?
So I agree with your analysis. It is all about marketing, and it's about helping voters understand the difference between, one wing of the Democratic, well, not just the Democratic Party, but the Democratic Party versus the Republican Party as we lead into the general election, and also congressional races will be taking place as well. And what also kind of stands out to me is what they did not include in their list, right? So that includes lowering the Medicare age, expanding drug price negotiations.
No, see, that's bad.
That is bad.
And the reason they don't include that is all the conservative Democrats that are hiding in the Progressive Caucus.
Well, they don't want to outshine the wonderful accomplishment by Biden.
Yeah.
By allowing Medicare to negotiate the drug prices of 10 drugs, many of which will have generic options out pretty soon.
I have a really interesting story to tell about that in a second.
Oh, no, tell me now.
Okay, so I do this weird thing where if there's articles that I love, I print them out so I can read them later, but I get stuff them in my bag and wait for a long plane ride, which is what I had today. So I read an article from a couple of years ago.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I totally misread this. I have to clarify it and fix my mistake right away. I'm sorry. They do call for lowering the Medicare age, expanding drug price negotiations, and increasing funding for all public healthcare systems. They did not call for Medicare for all. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So look, I'm glad that they said that, but did they actually deliver? So that goes back to my story. So there was, when Biden was first pushing for negotiating drug prices, theoretically, so it was a rebellion among conservative Democrats, and three of them, Schrader, Kathleen Rice, and Peters, who had all taken giant money from Big Pharma, came in and said, no, let's instead do a thing that pretends we're doing something about drug prices, but doesn't actually do anything. And at the time, the progressives were outraged. Everybody was outraged. I can't believe they're destroying Biden's agenda. You know what they wound up doing? They wound up doing that plan, which was hatched by big pharma lobbyists. That's what Biden passed and is now bragging about how he negotiated drug prices. That's why, look, I appreciate the marketing here, but at the end of the day, they're not gonna do any of this stuff. The minute they go to actually negotiate drug prices, half that caucus will turn on them and go, oh, I didn't mean it. And they all pretend to be for Medicare for all earlier. And then I interviewed some of them when they were running for president. I said, if you win, are you gonna do Medicare for all? They said, of course not. Like, it's like not even, it's just not like, so on the one hand, I appreciate it. On the other hand, we've been let down by Democrats so often, so pervasively, that I don't want you thinking it's real. So, and last thing is, I realize now, and I'll talk way more about this as we go throughout, all the shows that we do, but I'm never gonna get these guys to be actual revolutionaries. Like, we're barking up the wrong tree. So everyone in Congress, including the progressives, the real progressives, they're just incrementalists. So like if they got 3 more drugs that we negotiated the price on out of tens of thousands of drugs, like 4 years from now, 8 years from now, they would think, great, we're on the path, right? And they really genuinely think, there's like a 2,000-year timeline to get to what we want. And they've convinced themselves that that's the right approach. That rebellion or revolution against money in politics is not the right approach because it would offend their colleagues. So they're just going to chip away at it like one tiny step at a time.
I just think at this point, our federal government is set up in such a way that the bureaucracy, it's an obstacle to big change. And even though the Affordable Care Act has many flaws, and we've talked about that ad nauseum on the show, it is kind of impressive that Obama managed to get that passed, because I think that might have been the last time Congress passed a big change in the way we do things in this country.
Yeah. That's a longer conversation. Okay, for the bonus episode, guys, we're gonna talk about Andrew Tate versus Ben Shapiro. What is going on? Right wing on right wing crime. Can't wait. And then Matt Walsh on women basketball players. No, we're not doing it.
Well, I don't know if we're gonna have time, Cenk. There's a lot going on with the Shapiro Tate thing. A lot of video.
A lot of video. Either way, nothing but fun and excitement. TYT.com/team. Come on board. Members, we'll see you in a minute.